Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Louise. In this video, I want to talk about burnout. How I burned out, how making art helped me heal from it, and how it helped me transition into a new career that I love. And while I do that, I'll show you the process of painting this blackbird from my upcoming collection of bird portraits. I have been drawing and painting ever since I was little, but really only as an occasional hobby. I've had several other things that I've been more serious about, such as music, acting, and writing. And it just so happened as I was out of college, where I studied game design, by the way, because I am a huge nerd. It just so happened that when I was back in my hometown with my degree, I didn't want to get a job. Because I am an introvert and a highly sensitive person, and all of my previous attempts at being an employee had failed spectacularly. I just don't do well with a lot of commuting, being in busy offices, being around people 8+ hours a day, and so on. I realized that I needed to become self-employed, and the best way I knew at that time was to start freelancing. And the only skill I had that I could see myself monetizing right away was writing. So I became a freelance writer, and later a copywriter. And then I continued doing that basically all throughout my 20s and early 30s. I have a love-hate relationship with writing. When I feel like doing it and when I get to do it my way, I love it. But when I don't feel like writing, or when I have to write stuff I don't care about, I hate it. And I really mean hate. Cannot get myself to do it even with a gun to my head, would rather do anything else. And the past few years, I've been gradually falling out of love with writing, freelancing, and overall with the way I used to do business. I just cannot get excited about it. I didn't want to put myself out there as a copywriter or whatever. It didn't feel like me, at least not the true or whole me. But I kept soldiering on with it anyways because I felt I had no other options and I needed to make an income. And that's when COVID hit. And I hit a wall and just sort of gave up. I applied for sick pay, which is a very nice benefit that we have in Sweden, and I was lucky enough to get 6 months of paid sick leave. It took me like 2 months to get out of the panic mode I was in, obsessing about my survival, making money, being independent. And I want to add a note here that I am in a long-term, very stable relationship with someone who does have a regular, good paycheck. So I had no reason to panic about survival. It's an anxiety thing. Anyways, I took a few months to calm down and allow myself to not obsess about making money. And then I started painting. A lot, like every waking hour some days. I painted because I could finally legitimize doing it just for pleasure with no particular goal in mind. Before that, throughout my entire adult life really, I've struggled to allow myself to do anything unless I could make a career out of it and make money. That stress has always been there, and more so since I knew the vast majority of jobs would burn me out. It always had before, the few times I had tried it. I never lasted more than a few months before crashing. So doing something creative with no career goals or pressures attached to it just wasn't possible. I had to figure out how to monetize all the skills I had so that I could live. I'm sure a lot of highly sensitive creatives out there are nodding their heads off right now. So when I was on sick leave, art became my safe space, my happy place, something I could immerse myself into and forget about all the stress and worries and anxieties, like what I would do with the rest of my life. I just went into my room, put on some calming music, lit some candles, and drew and painted for hours. I did a lot of abstract art in the beginning, and that was therapeutic because I could release the pressure of having to make my art look accurate or good enough. I could just be more experimental and meditative. Just put some watercolor on a page and blow it around with a straw, that kind of thing. It removed a lot of blocks I had around art, such as feeling like I had to quickly get good at it if it was to have any value at all, and that I had to compete with all the other artists online, which is an exhausting and depressing thought in today's day and age when we're exposed to so much amazing art from all over the world. Since I finally had some time off, I felt I was allowed to suck at art. I was allowed to be a beginner. And this was when I got really passionate about learning art skills. I started following all of the art YouTubers, watching speed paints and tutorials, doing Skillshare classes, really practicing. And I freaking loved it. I was addicted to it, to that feeling of figuring out how to draw something a bit better or how to get watercolor to do what I wanted it to do. It was an exploration process, and I think because I approached this huge task of improving at art with such a humble and relaxed attitude, as compared to my previous attitude of get better fast or else, I actually did improve very quickly. I also shifted my focus to the subjects I loved portraying more than anything else, which was birds and animals. And I let go of the notion that I should practice a bunch of stuff I didn't really like figure drawing and architecture, just to become a well-rounded artist. I just allowed myself to be the bird nerd that I am and paint what made me happy. And this also let me improve more quickly since I had a better idea of what type of artist I wanted to be and what I needed to practice. This is something that requires a lot of experimentation, I think. You don't just decide on a style as an artist. It's something you stumble upon as you're exploring and pursuing what makes you happy. Anyways, that's a topic for another video. The more time I spent painting, being in this happy place, the bigger the contrast became to what I'd done before. I just couldn't see myself going back to that. Back to writing, sitting in front of a screen, constantly hunting for clients. That's often the case with burnout, by the way. People rarely manage to go back to the same place that made them sick. I guess it can be the same for self-employed people. Making art energized me. I wanted to feel that good all the time. But I was a writer. I had always been a writer. That was my identity. I couldn't just leave that behind and become this artist person. I felt like I wasn't allowed to, and it took a lot of self-convincing and support from my loved ones to make me feel like it was actually possible and that I was allowed to pursue a new career at 37. Something you constantly read about other people doing, but somehow you don't think it's okay for you to do that. Anyways, I decided that I would remake myself into an artist, and that completely shifted the way I feel and the way I do things now. I have lots more energy. I'm excited about the future. My career-related anxieties are mostly gone. I'm no longer afraid to put myself out there. I'm willing to do things I have never even considered before, such as starting a YouTube channel. Seriously, as an introverted, super camera shy person, this is the last thing I would ever imagine myself doing. You can overcome those things with the right motivation. Again, a topic for another video. I feel like I can be myself in this profession and that I don't have to fit some mold or behave in a certain way to be taken seriously. I'm not a serious person. It never suited me to be businessy and professional and salesy. And I think that's the key. Find what lights you up and allows you to be the most you, and find a way to make that your career. It will remove so much friction. Not saying it's easy or quick or that it will solve all of your problems, but it sure as hell makes for a more enjoyable ride than if you do what I did. Just staying in a situation where you don't feel happy and don't feel like you can be yourself just out of complacency. And this is not for everyone, of course. There are lots of creative people with regular 9-to-5 jobs who love it that way. I often wish I could be like that. I love a regular paycheck and some colleagues, not having to hustle and wear all the hats and do all the things. Art as a career is not for everyone, but for those of us who have no other option but to make a living off of our passion, our creativity, our personality, it's the only sustainable way. Do you agree? Do you feel the same way, or are you one of those happy to do it as a hobby kind of people? Do you have your own experience of burnout and art as therapy? I would love to hear about it, so please write me a comment below. So that was my story. Thanks so much for sticking around. Hit that like button if you want to support me some more, and I'll see you in the next video.